I've got a real treat for you guys today. I'm currently in the park and I'm going to be meeting with a pretty dedicated Tai Chi and Kung Fu disciple. And we're going to be talking about Kung Fu in China. Let's get the skinny on this. I think I see him over there. Hey there guys, and welcome to another video. I'm here with a Kung Fu disciple, or a little bit of Kung Fu, a little bit of other stuff. He's going to explain it to you. I have a lot of subscribers who have this mythical idea of China, this sort of mystical dragons and temples and Kung Fu monks and going to learn in the Shaolin temples and all this kind of thing. So I wanted to get a realistic idea of what it's really like, since you do that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you could just tell the people out there a little bit about what it's all about.
Sure, okay. Well, I might just give you a bit of an update of background of who I am and how I got to China.
Sure.
So I finished university last year and I wanted to follow my dreams and become someone like Winston and become a YouTuber. But I very quickly found it's quite difficult to make it in the YouTube game. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's not as easy as people think. I wish it was. It looks easy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I very quickly decided, thought, what am I doing with my life? And I just kind of got a bit sad. I was just kind of not in a very good place, and I thought I need something to strengthen my mind. So the classic cliche, I thought about Kung Fu monks. I saw some videos of some monks doing some backflips, and I thought, hey, that'd be a cool thing to do. You know, work on my internal stuff like meditation, and then also strengthening my body and trying to challenge myself in a new way. So I came out to China and I came to the Wudang Mountains, which is the birthplace of Wudang Kung Fu and Tai Chi. And my basic plan was just to turn up at a monastery with the kind of classic cliche idea of there just being Kung Fu monks everywhere.
Yeah.
So I actually turned up to this monastery, and to China's credit, there are these amazing Taoist monasteries in the Wudang Mountains. And I kind of knocked on the door and this old monk answered, and I just said, I couldn't speak any Chinese at that point. Kung Fu, Tai Chi. She just didn't even understand that and kind of just shook her head. So I had to turn to plan B and look for a Kung Fu school. And the locals took me to this very small, picturesque Kung Fu school with only 2 other students and the master. And so, yeah, I've been living there for the last 4 months and been learning Tai Chi and some Wushu, which is Kung Fu, and yeah, kind of living that cliche, which does exist, but I'll explain soon how it's not as big as maybe I think people would perceive.
Yeah, I know. That's something that I've always said, because having traveled through rural China a lot myself, and I've seen the temples and I've seen out there in the rural parts, and unfortunately we have a very romantic idea of what it's all about, but a lot of that's been lost, and a lot of what's left is just kind of either in ruins or it's been kind of tarted up to look like a tourist attraction, you know. And if there's some money behind it, then they will definitely put some effort into trying to maintain the way it looks. But most of that like really rich cultural stuff is kind of lost. But that being said, you can still find it, and so that was my real question for you, is how much of that really exists? These Kung Fu schools you're going to, is there some real proper tradition there, or is it just basically a money-making thing?
Sure. Well, yeah, it's interesting to note that actually the influence of Kung Fu has always been greater than the actual practice, even within China. So the Chinese have a whole genre of literature which is called wuxie, and that is, martial arts literature. And so who can blame the Chinese writers telling these amazing stories, often fictional, about the monks saving the emperors and 12 monks fighting an army of 2,000.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And so these stories have means that the kind of idea of Kung Fu has always been greater than the actual practice. So like you said, in fact, the majority of Chinese people don't do Kung Fu. It is very small. Even in the town at the bottom of the Wudang Mountains, which is the birthplace of Wudang Kung Fu and Tai Chi, even there, the vast majority of people don't practice Tai Chi or Kung Fu. You're much more likely to see the old ladies dancing in the square than you are to see them doing Tai Chi.
Right.
And I actually did some reading before coming out here, and the numbers, don't know how accurate these are, but 70 million people are supposed to practice some form of martial art. So that's about 5% of the population. So yeah, I mean, I remember on one of your videos, the idea of exercise just isn't in the consciousness for many Chinese people. Just the idea of getting sweaty and out of breath just isn't something that enters their consciousness.
Sure. Yeah, it totally isn't. Well, that's cool. That's good to know. So, you know, for those of you who are out there and are interested in doing Kung Fu and all that, in a minute, we're going to find out what you can do to basically follow that path. I just wanted to say, I also have another friend who does Wushu here, and he's actually very high up in the whole Wushu Federation, trying to get it into the Olympics. He's also another South African. He's a Greek South African that I met him when I was quite young, and we did a lot of stuff together back in the day, and he ended up in China kind of around about the same time I did. Although he'd always had some roots to China. He's married to a Chinese lady who was, you know, way back in South Africa even. And, you know, he's a fantastic guy. And I do know that you can find the real thing, but it's not as glamorous as you think. It's usually a bunch of guys in a parking lot somewhere hitting each other with sticks or something. Yeah. It's not like some mystical temple with dragons and stuff, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So the idea of the latest Karate Kid, where you're Jaden Smith and your janitor just happens to be Jackie Chan, and
don't even get me started on that. It should be called the Kung Fu Kid.
I know. I mean, yeah, that just the title itself is just completely wrong. So that just shows how fictional that is.
Yeah.
So that's very unlikely. But there are Kung Fu schools in China, and there are many. But there's also varying qualities.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Shaolin Temple, and that has denigrated from the original glory of amazing martial art. And so the CEO monk, the name of the top monk now, and
CEO monk.
he's opening an Australian branch of the Shaolin Temple with a golf course, with a 4-star hotel.
Yeah,
that just shows how far it's come from the original, from the original martial arts. But then on the flip side, there's something like 60,000 young Chinese children training around the Shaolin Temple area. And for many of these Chinese kids, it's a way out of poverty. And the Shaolin now has come very far from the original martial application. It's kind of like a circus now. So you'll have Shaolin performers performing all over China and indeed the world. So that is an amazing thing for 60,000 kids to try and climb their way out of poverty.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the poor quality. You've got Shaolin, which is very commercial, but my experience of the Wudang Mountains is there is this amazing community of Kung Fu schools and Tai Chi schools on this very beautiful mountain with Taoist temples, and certainly it's not the former glory. The Cultural Revolution destroyed a lot of
unfortunately
of that culture. I mean, talking about the Shaolin Temple, they had something like 2,000 monks before the Cultural Revolution. That went down to 15. So that's how devastating it was. But still, from the Cultural Revolution, slowly it's kind of been coming back to life. Although schools weren't allowed during that time, the kind of the folk knowledge, the knowledge of the martial arts still continued.
That's good. So would I be right in saying, because this is what I've at least seen with my own eyes, and I've kind of come to this conclusion, is that if you really want to experience the real sort of Kung Fu, and if you want to get deep into it, going to a place like the Shaolin temples is probably the wrong thing. I mean, it might be a step in the door, but what you really want to find is like a smaller school where you've got like a dedicated master who's got his own style and that kind of thing. Is that what you should aim for?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
And the masters, good masters, are very protective about their style because they're in very short supply, these amazing masters. So I have a friend in Beijing and he's studying Kung Fu there, and I wanted to do some filming for my YouTube channel because it was kind of my first step into China. But the master said, these are my secrets and this is my trademark. So certainly the smaller the school, the more contact time you get. And with my school, for a month it was just me and the master, so it was literally like living the Kung Fu dream of being on this mountain, just learning about Taoist philosophy and learning martial arts. That's
fantastic. Well, I'm really happy that I could speak to you because it rekindles a little bit of that hope for anyone out there who's chasing that Kung Fu dream. It's entirely possible to still do it in China. It's just not the way you think it is. It's just not that abundant. It's not like you walk here and there's a temple, stand outside the door and a monk's going to make you pass a trial and then you know that kind of thing.
Exactly. That's completely true. So it's just nowhere near as prevalent as people think it is, and it is kind of a cliche to come to China to do these things, but Kung Fu and the associated practices of meditation and all these things have an amazing impact on your life. And I would really recommend it to anyone who's interested in martial arts. Well,
that's fantastic. I tell you what, I'm going to put your details in the description of this video. You guys can head over to his YouTube channel and pose all the questions you want about where to go study, you know, like I'm sure he can hook you up with the details of what schools to go to in his master and all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we're sharing Taoist philosophy as well. So this is like ancient Chinese philosophy that remarkably has a lot to tell for people in modern lives with modern problems of like materialism. So loads of interesting ancient Chinese culture that we're covering on the channel.
Well, that's pretty fantastic. I do have a question for you though. You know, like you see in the movies, they always do this kind of salute.
Yeah.
Which is the right way to do it?
So the left hand over. So that is yang. This is so the yin and yang balance, very important in martial arts. So yeah, yang. This is the masculine energy. So
left hand over right.
Left hand over. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I've been doing it right all these years.
Yeah.
Okay. What is that? Just completely incorrect, or does it mean something else?
It both work. I don't think.
Yeah, but this.
Looking,
okay.
But yeah, at least we're on the Wudang Mountains.
Okay. Cool. So that's kind of like the kung fu salute.
Yeah, and literally every guest we have, I always bow to them, and each morning there's Sung Fong. Well, I'm part of the Sung Fong Pai sect. Zhang Songfeng is the founder of Tai Chi Chuan, which is like a slow martial art. And every morning we have to bow to him and pay our respects.
That's fantastic. So guys, please go check out his channel. And you know, you might not know, but I actually know a little bit of martial arts myself. So what do you say we see which is better?